but I feel like my optimism would be better if I had a bigger beard.
Bigger beard, like maybe James Harden.
James Harden, the king of all beards, although I
That
would
is an amazing
feel
beard, I have
it's
to say.
masking his overratedness just a little bit.
Ooh, controversy, controversy.
So James Harden, by a lot of people's accounts, is the best shooting guard in the league. It kind of hurts my soul to say this. I think it's Klay Thompson.
Yeah, I think this year he was narrowed out. I do think just because of the productiveness of what we assumed that Houston would do this year, they didn't really turn that corner. They had all these problems with from head office going down. They fired their coach, JB Bickerstaff taking over, and Dwight Howard's dismal play. So I think after all that's said and done, James Harden's stock, his NBA stock, kind of fell. But I still think he's still as far as like nucleus, like you want to talk about where he is. I think he's still a better player than Klay Thompson is. I think Klay Thompson had a better year, and I would probably go with Klay Thompson right now. But I think if we keep going down the line of their careers, I think James Harden is the better player. Is that fair to say?
I think he's a better offensive player. Listen, to me, like I know we talk about this all the time. Like to me, when we're talking top two guards, basically talking about the big four. We got DeMar, we got Clay, got James, and got Jimmy Butler. Maybe some people would want to say if he's healthy, Bradley Beal jumps in there. Is there any
Dwayne
other
Wade.
Dwayne? Yeah, but you can't count Dwayne Wade at this point of his career. Come on,
I feel like it's so funny when you say like this point of his career. He's
you're Miami
still
Mafia this whole thing.
he's still Dwayne Wade. At the end of the day, like I think even as a Raptor fan, as from Toronto, we overlooked him, but like Dwayne Wade was putting in work. 14 games in the playoffs, man. He
Okay,
put in some
okay,
serious work on Toronto and
okay.
Charlotte.
You're talking Toronto. Just for next year, I would give you Dwayne Wade, and I'll take away DeMar DeRozan for 1 year. Are you doing that?
For 1 year and I get him back.
Sure.
If I get DeMar DeRozan back, yeah, sure, why
You
not?
would rather Dwayne
I
Wade
think
for next
Dwayne
year.
Wade is a more productive two guard than DeMar DeRozan. It's just the fact that he's can't count on his health. That's the
I think
issue,
I
right?
may agree with you,
And
but that's more from my hate on DeMar. Okay, but
yeah,
back
yeah.
to James Harden. Listen, I was pulling up some stats here on basketballreference.com. I was actually a bit surprised. So we're looking at just last year, his stats. So just starting with James Harden, he actually takes a ton of free throws. Like to me, stats wise, he's actually really in between Klay Thompson and DeMar DeRozan because Klay Thompson actually they all take about the same amount of shots. They're all about 17 shots a game. Like I think James is just above it, like oh no, he's quite above it, like 19.7. But they're all between that kind of 17 and 19. It's not a ton of shots more. I think it's like one or two, and I know that counts. But essentially, Demar doesn't shoot the three ball well, but hits a ton of free throws. And James kind of hits a ton of free throws, but he shoots the three kind of between DeMar and Clay. Clay's obviously the better three-point shooter,
By far, yeah.
which obviously, I mean, he won this three-point championship, and he did that with Steph Curry. Although you could argue like he's super free and open because he plays with Steph Curry, and James Harden doesn't have these guys, and DeMar DeRozan has Kyle Lowry. Now, I'm not trying to make your point here for James Harden, but but
No,
I'm
no,
going to
you
make a
are though.
point that I feel like DeMar DeRozan and Klay Thompson both played better defense. Now, listen, I'm not going to put DeMar DeRozan ahead of James Harden. I know James Harden can ball, and I'm not trying to pull a Stephen A. Smith by stroking this guy's ego. But to me, the fact that when the game comes down to it, unless you need a playmaker, like I think the advantage Harden has over Klay Thompson is if I need him to create his own shot, maybe even play some surrogate point guard, which he might in a D'Antoni system next year. I think he's a guy who I'd rather, but in today's NBA, I think it's just really hard to argue against Klay Thompson. He's an elite 3 and D player, great size. You know he can play with other stars. You know he makes other guys better, and you know he comes in the clutch when you need him. He's been showing this. I mean, like it wasn't him that choked last year. It was Harrison Barnes and Steph Curry. Like Klay Thompson was one of their best players in the finals.
Consistent. But I think when you compare James Harden and you compare Klay Thompson, I think you're comparing two different like ideologies and philosophies as two guard. I think James Harden is a more yeah, as you said, yeah, he's more of a facilitator. He's a guy who's going to dribble the ball, start the offense, be your fourth quarter point guard, set all that. But Klay Thompson is a off the ball player. Like he is so good at that, and that's what he does best, right? So when you're talking about who is better, I think you have to start off by saying who would you start a team with? You know what I'm saying? So if you had the opportunity and you don't have a point guard yet, say you don't have a point guard that can run your offense perfectly, I'm going with James Harden. I think James Harden is the money guy. I think he's the guy who's going to sell the tickets. I think he's the guy who's going to put the team on his back. I think he's a unique offensive player, and he even spoke to it about how well he gets to the line. I think it's heavenly in this NBA. It's heavenly to see a player be able to initiate contact, score on those and ones, and get the free throws and shoot it well. I think he just ticks off more boxes as far as what I want in my shooting guard than Klay Thompson.
All right, I'll give you that, and maybe that's the argument for superstar, right? Like if you had to start a team with one guy, because I agree that Clay can't exist on his own. He needs
Yeah.
some guy. And to your point, just arguing a bit, 7.5 assists is what James Harden averaged last year as a two guard, not as a point guard.
And 29 points a game, right? I believe.
29 points a game. Yeah, but he shot like 44%. Um,
I think let me see, what is efficiency like
oh, I don't
1.7?
know, man. But like his free throws is like 86, but he averaged like 7.5 assists and six boards. And so when you're 29,
Yeah. That's LeBron James esque.
look, he
It's
had to
just
score a lot, and it's actually impressive too because how do you get 7.5 assists when your second best scorer, Dwight Howard, only gets 8 shots a game? So it basically means every time you do pass, they score.
I don't even think Dwight Howard's the second best scorer on that team. I think Trevor Ariza scores a lot easier
I'm
than
actually a
Dwight
big
Howard, to
Trevor
be
Ariza
honest.
fan.
Being completely
Yeah,
fair. I'm completely off the Dwight Howard juice. I concede that man is a waste of
as long
everything.
as he's
He's a
not off the
waste. He's
juice,
just a waste.
because at a 6'9" center, I think he'd be pretty bad as soon as he loses like 20, 30 pounds.
It looks like he's shrinking out there. Have you noticed that? Like in the past couple of years, I've been watching Dwight Howard play. He's just maybe just everyone's taller
No,
now.
no. Have you seen him
Because I
train
remember him.
with Hakeem Olajuwon? Olajuwon is like 6'9" as well, and he'll admit it. And they were training in this video, and Olajuwon's like, "Yeah, as an undersized center, you need to learn to do this." And Dwight's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." Like he's
It's funny because I think I remember seeing that video too because I was like out in Houston. He was trying to train him and all that stuff. But if you look at Dwight Howard's year to year to year to year, he's not getting better. He's not like remember all those things that we thought he would eventually just
like
gain.
like
The little hook
I
over
like
his
learn how to
shoulder.
shoot a free
A
throw.
couple. He's kind of. It's funny because he's not. Yeah, free throw too. That's just regressing like I've ever seen it before. But his dominant way of playing when he was in Orlando was what was working for him. And for him to kind of shy away from that and try to add these other things that he can't add, he just can't do it. I think he is the best example of you can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's just like it's sad. It's a little sad, and I wish him the best in Atlanta. But you know what? Good luck with him. That's good luck to Atlanta because I don't think they're gonna do anything
You
well
know,
for
I
that
think it's
player.
really funny though. If he had actually come into saying, you know what, I'm going to be a second fiddle to James Harden. Imagine that pick and roll situation if they had been on the same page.
Oh yeah, but that's
Imagine
the thing with
Dwight
Dwight
Howard
Howard.
setting those
He's not
massive
him.
picks with his big ass shoulders and then turning around and flying towards the net while James Harden just
Yeah,
tossing it up.
yeah. He just can't do it because there were some games where he was getting like what 6 shots a
He was
game,
good in
maybe
the
like four
playoffs, though. He
shots a
was
game.
good in
There
the
was
playoffs. Let's not forget he actually showed up. But I mean, yeah, they didn't show up. Okay, so I'll give you this. So the argument with James Harden is kind of 2 point. One, is he the best two guard in the league? I'll give you he's the best two guard in isolation, saying like if you're gonna start a player with a two guard, I definitely take him over DeMar. I'm taking him over Jimmy, even though I like Jimmy. Like I think
yeah.
just pure talent, I think Harden has more. I think if we're talking about if I'm building a whole team and drafting, I'm taking Clay, but if I have one guy I'm sure of and the rest is unsure, probably I'll take Harden. But I'm still hoping that I'm bringing in a coach that's going to maximize this guy. Now, do you think D'Antoni is that coach to like is that the
D'Antoni likes
system?
fast pace. He likes pick and roll. He likes all those things. I think he could exist in that. It's more of those. I gotta
Yeah.
see. I gotta see it. I gotta see it. I'm not gonna say either way because it really could go either way this year. Like my last predictions of NBA last year were just I was all over the place. So you know what? I'm just more of a wait and see type of guy when it comes to this right now. So I'm just gonna wait and see how that works
You know
out.
what I thought was really funny actually, because people are all talking how like Russell Westbrook is like what 4-1 to win MVP next year, because they're like, oh, he has his own team, he's gonna take a million shots. I think James Harden in a D'Antoni system can actually get close to a triple double a game. Like his assist numbers, you know, are gonna go up. So even if they go up two or three, that's 10 assists a game. And when you shoot more, you just happen to rebound more. It just happens. There's more bricks.
Yeah. Um. For them to do that, for him to pull an MVP next year, they would have to get higher than a fifth seed, I think. And I don't think that's going to happen with that roster. Like it's a pretty
They're
dismal
really
roster right
counting
now.
on Ryan Anderson and Eric Gordon, who didn't exist last year. And
Gonna be a bunch of empty stats. It's gonna be a Kevin Love in Minnesota, I think. It's just like, oh, those are
and
great
even if they
numbers, but
had
let's do it
stats,
and win
he just had to ask
games.
Anthony Davis how both those guys produced for him because they were both Pelicans last year.
Oh man.
Okay, so James Harden, fine. I'll give you in a bubble, he's the best two guard,
Hmm.
but you have to agree with me if you're building a team like if you literally got to pick five, right? Like your five best NBA players.
Yeah, well,
Are,
if I
are
get
you
to
taking
pick out of
Clay?
everyone, and I have my one position locked up, I got my three locked up, got my four and five locked up, then yeah, I probably wouldn't go with James Harden. But if I'm like, if I'm scrounging, if I'm in a fan, not necessarily a fantasy, if I'm playing 2K, let's say 2K, because we're both guys who like video games. I'm playing NBA 2K. I'm playing a fantasy roster mode going on there, and I see James Harden and I see Klay Thompson. I'm going James
Yeah.
Harden. I'm going James Harden one time because I don't know what my next point guard is going to be. I don't know what my three is going to be. I just feel like he ticks off more of those boxes that you need to start a franchise. And I feel like it's comfortable when you have that person who can take care of that for you, and then you can kind of concentrate on other things. Maybe you don't have to get the best point guard now. You can get a player like Patrick Beverly, who
I like
specifically
Patrick
is
Beverly.
just a defensive minded point guard. You won't have to get like a Jeremy Lin, let's say that, because he was in Houston
Oh
as well
man,
too. You don't have
Jeremy
to
Lin in
have this
Brooklyn is
abundance.
gonna
You don't
make
have
me
to have.
cry.
Oh, Brooklyn! I feel so sorry for Brooklyn. Like they have no future, no past, and absolutely
But
no present. They're the team that just needs
but
three
they
wishes. You know what I'm
but they
saying?
still
Like
have Sean
they needed
Marks,
like
who
they need a
traded
bunch.
away
There
all
you
their
go. They need a
picks.
bunch of genies real quickly.
Yeah, he's making Boston look sick. Yeah, you know what? I'll agree. And as a closing thought, speaking of 2K, one of my little dirty secrets is I always liked picking Harden to play point guard. Like literally as a two, I was like whatever. As a point guard, I'm like you're smooth like that. You know,
He's got that size.
he's kind of like a
He's
he's
a big
kind of like a bigger
he's a
he's kind of like
big
a
boy. 6'6",
he's kind of like a
6'5",
bigger Kyrie Irving.
220 or
He's
230.
got a good handle. He stays low to
Yeah,
the ground. He changes speeds well. He shoots a three well. It's kind of Kyrie like, but a bit bigger.
and he's got a good eye. Like you can't say he doesn't see the floor well. He's got a very good vision on the court. I think it's maybe because he's a little taller than most players, or just the fact that there's just so much gravity, there's so much weight in him as an offensive player that the wings are cheating. They got to get 1 foot in that key or 1 foot near the key, and stay by their man. So there's a lot of movement going on. He's able to, and he's quick to throw it. He throws those quick little jet passes in between lanes. It's fantastic to see.
Every time
I'm a stickler for passing. I love
every
passing.
time you say Jet, now I'm thinking Jason Terry, and I'm thinking LeBron James throwing it down right.
Remember when he took his soul
Soul is
when he
mine.
was in Boston? Just done him. Oh man, I felt so. I think that was worse than Damon Jones sometimes. Damon Jones was like he got up from it. He didn't fall to the ground. It had to be revived. LeBron James just looked at him like, "Oh man, I have your soul, and I'm not giving it back."
All right, man. Well, listen, I'm gonna be the first to admit I didn't think this would happen, but my man Allen here has actually changed my mind on the best two guard in the league, James Harden. Your beard.
You hear that, folks? You hear that, folks? You're gonna hear this a
I,
lot.
I'm a big enough guy to admit when I'm gone. But listen, we're done this corner. We've been talking James Harden, best two guards in the league. A bunch of names came up. The beard prevailed. My name's Phil Boileau,
Al Shane
and we'll catch
Lewis.
you next time here, hoopslounge.com.